Anime, liar liar. Humans are inherently social beings, and in social interactions, we often encounter a word that serves as a benchmark for almost all human beings: ranking. No matter how small something is, there will always be a ranking, whether it's a ranking in a game, the best rated restaurants in the area, competitions, and so on. Hiroto Shinohara is a transfer student who came to a new school located on Academy Island, which actually doesn't care much about rankings. However, during his speech as the newly appointed top-ranking student, he acted arrogant and proclaimed that if anyone wanted to challenge his position, he would accept it through a special game that can only be found on Academy Island. Of course, this was merely a bluff when he delivered the speech arrogantly because he panicked too much when he was about to give the speech and when his smartphone rang. He read all the incoming comments as the speech was being broadcasted live through a special school channel. The school on Academy Island is managed by the Saionji Corporation, which is equipped with the latest and most comprehensive facilities that can only be found there. A few hours before giving the speech, while Hiroto was walking to school, he felt confused with the directions provided on the Maps application on his smartphone. Then, he heard footsteps and saw a beautiful girl who captivated him with her beauty. She had long ruby red hair and her eye color perfectly matched her hair color, instantly grabbing Hiroto's attention. Hiroto asked the girl for directions to the school he was going to today because he had just arrived at Academy Island yesterday and hadn't had a chance to explore the area or at least know the way to his new school, Ime Academy. The girl replied that Ime Academy is located in District 4, while Hiroto's current position was in District 3, which caused him to get lost while walking in District 3. The girl showed Hiroto the location of Ime Academy on the Maps application on his smartphone, and she realized that Hiroto was around the same age as her because she knew he was in Class 2, which could be accessed through the personal data application on the students' smartphones. Sensing that Hiroto hadn't had time to read the user guide for his smartphone, the girl asked him, and true enough, Hiroto was the type of person who always skipped tutorials as long as it was possible, like in games, for example. The girl laughed at Hiroto's statement, realizing that he truly hadn't read the user guide and indirectly asked the girl for help. The smartphones given to students studying on Academy Island are mandatory and students must understand their functionality because most of the data about each student can be accessed through the application, so they should always carry it. Academy Island also has its own special social media platform called Stick, where students can stay updated on the latest news and events at the Academy. One of the most important applications is used for a game where players compete to collect stars from each other by sending game requests. They can play a game where they bet stars they have accumulated from previous games, or for those who have never played, it becomes an opportunity to steal stars from their opponents while collecting 7 stars to rank the highest at the Academy. While showing Hiroto the way, the girl began escorting him to Ime Academy. Hiroto, with a smirk on his face, followed her, captivated by her beauty and cuteness. Hiroto, as a transfer student, had to attend the orientation event held for new and transfer students. The girl also suddenly remembered that she had to attend the event in the afternoon. As they were about to part ways, by some coincidence or unfortunate event, a small water turret appeared and sprayed water, drenching the girl completely. Feeling played by Hiroto, who, in reality, didn't even know how to use the smartphone properly, the girl was furious because all her clothes were soaked, and she felt humiliated by the situation that happened purely by chance. She challenged Hiroto to a star collecting game, where the challenger should determine the game since Hiroto didn't fully understand how the application worked. Thus, he only sent the challenge without any concept of the game to be played. Eventually, the girl decided on the game they would play. The game they would play was a staring contest with a difficult mode, where they would take turns attacking each other with different expressions to make their opponent look suspicious, and if they did, they would be declared the loser. Since Hiroto was the challenger, he would be the first to attack, and the players would take turns for 1 minute. Hiroto began the game poorly because he didn't know what to do. He was clueless even about basic things like setting his abilities before starting the game, let alone how to attack the angry girl whose expression remained hidden due to the ongoing game. The 1 minute allotted to Hiroto seemed wasted due to his own confusion, which prevented him from seizing the opportunity to attack. When it was the girl's turn to attack, she quickly unleashed her ability to create a sword-like laser and aimed it at Hiroto, hoping to see a terrified expression on his face seconds after the attack. Feeling cornered, Hiroto didn't want to lose to the ruby-haired girl who was clearly frustrated and felt underestimated because of his lack of knowledge in managing his abilities and other basic aspects. It was Hiroto's turn to attack again, but to his surprise, the small turret that had previously sprayed water at the red-haired girl unexpectedly targeted him with the same water spray. In that moment, The girl fell silent momentarily, seething with anger as she believed Hiroto had planned it from the beginning and had successfully bought time until the turret reappeared. The red-haired girl, who had briefly fallen silent, suddenly showed an expression of embarrassment because her clothes were once again soaked. Her plan to welcome new students as one of the role models in the school had backfired, and she felt deeply embarrassed by the nonsensical defeat. Was it merely pure luck or Hiroto's natural talent that allowed him to easily defeat Saionji Sarasa, the red-haired girl known as the Empress? After the game concluded, Hiroto was summoned by an elderly male servant to meet the headmaster in District 4. The headmaster questioned Hiroto's ability to defeat Sarasa so easily. Ikainos Natsume, who had initially intended to intimidate Hiroto and make him afraid, revealed that the person he had defeated was none other than Saionji Masamune, the owner of Academy Island and Sarasa's grandfather. Feeling pressured by the confrontation with Ikainos Natsume, the headmaster of District 4 at Aimei Academy, Hiroto faced a difficult situation. The headmaster believed that Hiroto had truly broken a taboo on Academy Island by defeating a figure as important as Saionji Sarasa, known as the Empress. Considering Hiroto as an NPC, non-player character, the headmaster offered him a solution: to become a new legend on Academy Island by being the first transfer student to obtain the 7 stars. Hiroto could make use of the special effect ability of the red star he had obtained from Sarasa, which was the ability to deceive convincingly. This ability was even feared by Hiroto himself, but he decided to seize the opportunity to search for someone he had encountered before. Even after giving the speech, Hiroto was still frustrated because his ability to lie had a significant impact on players with the same or even higher star rankings. With empty words that could provoke the emotions of easily agitated individuals, his remarks were deeply hurtful. The headmaster was delighted with Hiroto's arrogant and conceited speech, thanks to the natural effect of the red star he had obtained from Sarasa. The headmaster explained that it was a perfect psychological deception. Simply by delivering a speech in that manner, even the most seasoned veterans couldn't help but feel heated. Being able to separate his emotions while lying and his expression when acting extremely arrogant came naturally to Hiroto. However, the side effect was that he would come to despise lying after he had finished doing it. The headmaster was grateful to have recruited Hiroto to Academy Island. After their brief conversation, Hiroto was eager to return to the dormitory as he appeared exhausted from his eventful day. The headmaster had already provided him with the address of the dormitory based on the star ranking he had achieved through his smartphone. On his way back to the dormitory, Hiroto was suddenly pulled by someone, who turned out to be Sarasa. She couldn't accept the humiliating defeat. Moreover, Sarasa felt that when Hiroto delivered his speech, he was seeking more attention to mentally crush her because she was the granddaughter of the owner of Academy Island. Due to the loss of the red star, Sarasa experienced its effects when she lied for survival, as it served as her reason for living. Sarasa was willing to do anything for Hiroto as long as he didn't reveal the secret she was about to disclose, as a punishment for the loss of the red star she had taken from Akabane Rina, her real name, a year ago. Hiroto was completely bewildered by Sarasa's words and tried to clarify the misunderstandings and the fact that he knew nothing about Academy Island and its entire contents. The lies that Sarasa should have revealed to Hiroto were hindered by the effects of the red star itself. Eventually, Hiroto realized that Sarasa was not the true granddaughter of Saionji Masamune and that she was Akabane Rina. He became fearful of his own words during his speech as the representative of the new students. Hiroto was determined to pursue the 7th star to uncover the identity of the person he had encountered in his childhood and whether it was related to his enrollment on Academy Island. As night approached, Hiroto arrived at the apartment indicated by the headmaster, only to find that it was a luxurious residence for him to live in alone. Curious about its contents, when Hiroto entered, he encountered a beautiful girl dressed as a maid with silver hair. Who was she? Was she really just an ordinary maid? We will soon find out in episode 2. Continuing into episode 2, Shinohara Hiroto was surprised to see a beautiful maid already inside the house he was going to live in. He attempted to inquire about her, but she hid from him when he entered the house. The maid finally revealed herself after confirming that Hiroto was the rightful owner of the house, as per the information received from the Island Academy authorities. However, she didn't expect Hiroto to be a male, as she might have hoped for a female employer. The maid introduced herself as Shirayuki Himeji. Hiroto was delighted to have such a beautiful maid. Himeji was registered at Oka Academy, District 3, which was different from Hiroto's school. Nevertheless, due to a direct request from the headmaster of Aimei Academy, District 4, Himeji would become Hiroto's personal assistant and transfer to Aimei Academy along with him. Having prepared a cup of tea, Himeji immediately explained the role of a live-in assistant to Hiroto. She would be constantly by his side during his stay on the Academy Island, without any specified time limit. This meant that Himeji and Hiroto would be living under the same roof. Before Hiroto could ask about any peculiarities of the arrangement, Himeji quickly assured him that she wouldn't engage in anything inappropriate. For example, if they both wanted to sleep, they would have separate rooms. Himeji didn't dislike the unexpected situation. Her real concern was with the arbitrary decisions made by the headmaster of District 4. Hiroto empathized with Himeji and shared the sentiment, considering her a comrade regardless of their social status, which was also a bother to him. Himeji spontaneously invited Hiroto to have dinner together, and without hesitation, he accepted the invitation. Hiroto didn't anticipate that Himeji would prepare so much food for herself, but since he was someone who didn't want to inconvenience others, he invited Himeji to dine with him as well. At first, Himeji declined, believing that a maid should eat after her employer had finished, but she eventually agreed to eat with Hiroto due to his invitation. Finding Himeji's cooking to be delicious, Hiroto was surprised, and his initial disbelief slightly hurt Himeji's feelings. Nonetheless, Hiroto sincerely praised Himeji's cooking, albeit his blunt nature sometimes got the best of him, as he didn't consider Himeji to be a bad person and didn't mind her feelings getting hurt. After finishing dinner, Himeji invited Hiroto into a secret room within his current house to discuss a strategy for easily obtaining the 7th star by resorting to cheating, with the assistance of an organization called Company. Himeji herself was one of the top agents working undercover as Hiroto's maid. To prevent any intruders from leaking the secret data that Hiroto would be using, Himeji presented her plan offline, ensuring it would be hard to detect any hacking attempts on the network used at the time. Hiroto thought that using the red star obtained from Sarasa Saionji could be the foundation for acquiring the 7th star easily and quickly with Company's help. However, Himeji doubted Hiroto's abilities, considering his entrance exam results were deemed unworthy. Consequently, she decided to help him by resorting to less than honest means, making Hiroto appear deserving of the 7th star in the eyes of Company and the Academy. They would utilize Company's hacking capabilities to assist Hiroto in winning each game gradually. Kagaya-san, the head of the electronic department at Company, would provide the necessary support, with the condition that Hiroto acted deceptively to aid Kagaya-san's actions and secure an easy victory without the enemy realizing the cheating. It was crucial for Hiroto to keep this secret since it would violate the rules, and if exposed, those involved would be forced to leave the Academy Island. Company was confident in its ability to execute the plan successfully, and thus, Himeji was confident in helping Hiroto win. Her motivation stemmed from a strong desire to meet someone from her childhood whose name she had forgotten but whose memory remained vivid. This memory fueled Hiroto's determination to win every game played. According to Himeji's plan, the next morning, Hiroto successfully played the pre-arranged game target and won effortlessly, thanks to the acting of the red star effect. He was delighted with Company's work, which had helped him secure a victory in the first game of the day. After the first game was completed, Himeji would continue her mission to ensure Hiroto's victory in the second game, scheduled for the afternoon at the designated gaming area set up by the school. Before heading to the arena, Hiroto took the opportunity to visit his own school to find out his class and meet some of his classmates. He encountered Fuka Tatara, his classmate and class representative, as well as Tsuji Yuki, another classmate. Since he was chosen as a volunteer player for the inter-school tournament, he asked Fuka why their school was so passionate about gaming. Fuka replied that their school was one of the top 5 on the Academy Island, and to maintain that status, most students were enthusiastic about games, following the directives of Headmaster Ikinos. Hiroto's opponent for the upcoming match had been determined. He would face Haru Urasaka, a senior from District 11. As the match was about to begin, Urasaka Haru, the challenger, appeared first, followed by Hiroto. The gaming tournament event would be live-streamed through the school's YouTube channel, and the stadium was already bustling with excitement, promising to be a grand and lively occasion. Unbeknownst to Hiroto, the guest star for the event was Saionji Sarasa. Hearing Sarasa giving her speech, Hiroto seemed somewhat uncomfortable, as if he didn't want Sarasa to be present for any reason. Kazami Suzurn and Sarasa would be the commentators and analysts for Hiroto and Haru's upcoming game. Haru, as the challenger, chose the game, a 100-meter race where they could use anything they liked as transportation. Haru was confident in defeating Hiroto and had prepared a modified motorcycle to secure victory. However, Hiroto, with his arrogance, wasn't going to be easily defeated. Haru's motorcycle entered the racing arena, but Hiroto, ready without using any equipment, was determined to face the challenge. Himeji had given Hiroto instructions to facilitate his strategy. Knowing that Haru's ability was to remove speed limits, acceleration, and safety features from any interfering opponents, Hiroto had no choice but to rely on Himeji's instructions. Although he felt fearful inside, Hiroto's arrogance annoyed Haru. The race began, with Haru speeding off rapidly. However, Hiroto had chosen the full cancellation ability, augmented 3 times stronger through hacking to counter Haru's skills. Instantly, Haru's motorcycle came to a complete stop due to the effects of Company's hacking. Haru was protected by a mat placed by Company, so she wasn't harmed when thrown off her bike. Hiroto casually walked towards the finish line. He explained the deception behind his abilities, full cancellation, forced stop, and the safety features he mentioned were all part of his lies. He won the game easily with the help of Company's hacking, as without it, Hiroto would have surely faced a crushing defeat. After the event concluded, Hiroto wanted to return home immediately, but he was intercepted by Sarasa, who felt disappointed not to witness Hiroto's defeat and humiliation. However, on the other hand, she was pleased because she had won the game and had been the one to defeat Hiroto. Sarasa tugged at Hiroto's tie, fearing it would rip. She asked him not to pull away. It seemed like Sarasa was treating Hiroto roughly. Hiroto held a paper he received from Sarasa, inviting him to meet elsewhere without anyone accompanying him. On his way to meet Sarasa, Hiroto knew that Himeji was keeping a close watch on him from a distance. He didn't want to be disturbed or discovered during his meeting with Sarasa, so he had asked Himeji to comply with his request, allowing him a bit of freedom. The location Sarasa referred to was a somewhat secluded cafe, not easily visible from afar. Sarasa appeared visibly annoyed with Hiroto for being late. Without beating around the bush, Sarasa wanted Hiroto to tell her about his life before entering the academy. In return, Hiroto was curious about what had actually happened to the real Sarasa. The fake Sarasa, also known as Akabane Rina, explained that the real Saionji Sarasa had been kidnapped, and no one, including Rina and the Saionji family, knew her whereabouts. Since no one recognized the real Sarasa's face, Rina was chosen by the Saionji family to take her place to preserve the family's reputation. This put a burden on Rina as she had to indirectly maintain the Saionji family's reputation. Hiroto understood why Rina sought his help due to his possession of the Red Star. He empathized with Rina's situation and agreed to help her. However, if Hiroto were to lose the game, it would trap them both in a difficult situation, leading to their forced expulsion by the authorities on the Academy Island. Hiroto eventually revealed his secret desire to find a childhood friend he hadn't seen in a long time, believing that the friend was on the Academy Island as well. He wouldn't leave the Academy Island until he could meet that friend, and he was willing to do anything to win the game for that purpose. Sarasa admitted that she didn't like how Hiroto always won the game, but they agreed to form an alliance until they could resolve their respective issues. Himeji, who had secretly learned something from Hiroto, was shocked to hear her master had returned home. The following day, Hiroto and Sarasa met at school, teasing each other about not communicating via email. Then, a mysterious man appeared laughing on top of a building. Who could he be? What caused Himeji's surprised expression? We'll have to wait for the next episode to find out. Continuing to episode 3, a mysterious young man named Kugisaki Siren appeared, laughing from the top of the school building. He was a fervent admirer of Empress Sarara and challenged Hiroto to a game without beating around the bush. Siren believed he would be the first player to make Hiroto kneel before him because he considered himself superior. Initially doubtful of Siren's grandiose claims, Hiroto accepted the challenge, reversing the stakes, and bet that the loser couldn't challenge Saionji Sarasa. Feeling intimidated, Siren, the leader of the self-created Holy Knights, didn't back down and kept challenging Hiroto to the game. Hiroto responded calmly, stating that he would reveal Siren's true level, considering his claims to be mere empty talk. As Hiroto waited for someone with an unusual appearance for him, he spotted a girl dressed unusually as well. Upon realizing it was Sarasa, he greeted her, and Hiroto was slightly surprised by her somewhat reserved appearance. Sarasa asked him about the conditions of the challenge, whether it was to protect her secret or had another intention. Hiroto gave an answer that at least reassured Sarasa, as revealing Sarasa's true identity would also expose Hiroto's deception. Thus, Hiroto protected everything to prevent unwanted outcomes. Hiroto invited Rina to come to his house, and upon arrival, they were greeted by Himeji, who had previously served the Saionji family or, more accurately, protected Akabane Rina, who disguised herself as Saionji Sarasa. This revelation surprised Hiroto, and he immediately shared the incident about the real Saionji Sarasa being kidnapped. Himeji, who knew about it, urged Hiroto and Rina to enter a secret room in his house to discuss strategies to counter Siren's game called 27 Forms of Self-Creation. The game involved Hiroto and Siren collecting cards and competing based on the total number on them. The game had two phases: the collection phase, where players had to find cards numbered from 0 to 19 scattered in District 4 and select the 5 highest numbers. They could search on foot or use public transportation, and new cards would appear every 5 minutes, which they could obtain using their smartphones. The second phase was the confrontation phase, where the 5 selected highest cards would be pitted against the opponent's cards. The player with the highest number would continue until someone secured 3 points. As this game had no record of a 1-star winner defeating Siren, Hiroto's chance of winning was estimated to be only around 1%, almost non-existent. Rina explained that she could use her numerical adjustment ability, previously used when she fought against Hiroto, to manipulate the card values during the game. However, Siren, ranked 5 stars, could change the value 19 to 30 with his star rank, and Hiroto, being a fake 7-star, couldn't exercise low-ranked privileges, leaving him with no choice but to resort to cheating. Himeji would assist him with her tricks during the collection phase, hindering Siren's movements to buy time and collect cards that Hiroto could win despite the numerical adjustment being used. Rina warned that if Siren entered the collection phase with perfect preparation, Hiroto would be doomed because Siren possessed the emergency movement ability, enabling him to control his 300 soldiers with a single use and grant their abilities to him. Rina suggested Hiroto should disregard that his Siren's star ability, Black Wings, could release smoke and thunder, making it a challenge to fight him. Hiroto asked Rina about the abilities he could use to counter Siren. She mentioned the first ability, Coordinate Manipulation, could change the location of cards in District 4 and gather them at one point but only worked on 5-star and above cards. The second ability, Tracing, enabled him to find all the cards from the start through his smartphone and determine the order of cards to take. Hiroto also inquired about the 1-star ability he could use from Himeji. She suggested the error display ability, which would cause the opponent's smartphone screen to malfunction. Additionally, he could utilize the fortune ability to balance the odds and increase the chance of finding high-numbered cards. Lastly, the numerical adjustment ability according to Hiroto's prediction. These 3 abilities were what Hiroto would employ to counter Siren, although Himeji doubted their effectiveness, considering the actual battle was in the collection phase. Nonetheless, Hiroto was confident in his choices as an assurance of his victory. After Rina returned home from Hiroto's place, Hiroto asked about Himeji avoiding Rina, but Himeji explained that it was actually Rina who was avoiding her. As Rina was a close friend of Himeji, she found Rina's current behavior strange, as she was hiding something from her and the Saionji family. Himeji also warned Hiroto to protect Rina because she was a fragile girl. The game between Hiroto and Siren was about to begin. Himeji had prepared to assist Hiroto in winning the game by coordinating the target cards to be taken, finding the most efficient route, and cutting down Siren's movement time. However, it seemed like all the preparations were in vain because within a few seconds of the game starting, Siren had already obtained 2 cards and closed off all possibilities for Hiroto to gather information in searching for cards. Siren broke through Himeji's call and started intimidating Hiroto, who was confused and struggling to find his first card. Feeling that Himeji's help wouldn't be enough, Hiroto managed to calm himself and think of an alternative way to find the card, eventually succeeding in getting his first card. While Hiroto was worried about the possibility of Siren taking the card with the number 17, he suddenly saw Haru riding her motorcycle. He asked for her assistance to reach the coordinates of the next card. After Haru provided the ride, Hiroto thanked her, and she felt grateful to the school principal for giving her permission to do the temporary motorcycle business. However, during his search for the second card, Hiroto fell from a height because the card's location was precarious without any safety measures below. Siren had already obtained 11 cards, leaving Hiroto with 9 cards, and the game was not yet over. When Hiroto got injured from the fall, Rina came to encourage him, as he had lost his earphones, which he used to communicate with Himeji. Hiroto had a great responsibility to protect his lie and Rina's lie, especially to meet his childhood friend. However, Rina revealed the lie that Sarara had been kidnapped. Sarasa, in fact, wanted to attend a regular school. With Rina's help, she managed to attend a regular school on the main island. Hiroto, who felt that Himeji should know about this, was stopped by Rina, as the secret would be revealed in 2 years. Rina didn't want Yuki to be involved in this because it was her mistake. Hiroto understood and admired Rina for her courage to make Sarasa's true wish come true by fooling the Academy Island and the Saionji family. He praised Rina for her audacious actions, as it was her style. Rina was surprised and blushed, understanding what Hiroto meant. But Hiroto added that they should continue this live for a while longer to stay safe from potential threats. Himeji arrived and asked about Hiroto's condition, informing them that Siren had collected 16 cards, and the location of the last 2 cards hadn't been revealed yet, but it was likely they would be taken. Hiroto and Rina believed they could obtain the remaining 2 cards and win the game by seizing the last chance to turn the tide using the cheating method they hadn't used again yet. The collection time has ended, and now it's the opening phase where Siren has arranged 5 cards, while Hiroto only has 2 cards. Siren intimidates Hiroto to give up, as he believes Hiroto cannot win against him. Although Hiroto seems to be giving up, he's actually stalling for time to activate his cheating method at the right moment. When Hiroto successfully prolongs the time to use the rule breaker in a sneaky way, even though normally this ability can only be used on players ranked 6 and above, the first round of the opening phase ends. Hiroto changes the rules using the rule breaker, stating that if a player runs out of cards in the first turn, the game will continue to the next turn, but all the cards used by both Hiroto and Siren will be eliminated. However, in the first turn, Hiroto only discards 1 card while Siren discards all his selected cards. When the second turn begins, Hiroto still has 1 card, while Siren has none, leading Hiroto to win the game. After his victory, he collapses and appears very weak due to the effects of falling from a height while grabbing the card. Several days after the game, Hiroto is in the hospital because of his serious injuries and needs to be hospitalized. He is on the hospital rooftop, enjoying the outside atmosphere, when Rina visits him. She is a bit annoyed because he isn't in his hospital room. Rina thanks Hiroto for protecting everything she has, especially her lies. When Rina mentions the type Hiroto referred to, she does so shyly while he's on a call with Himeji. Rina is annoyed that Hiroto isn't paying attention to her and suddenly hugs him as she successfully convinces him. This is the end of episode 3. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss part 4 of this series recap. Episode 4 begins with Himeji's meeting with the District 4 headmaster, whom she calls Megitsune or Cunning Fox. She discusses Tone Himeji, Hiroto, and his response after playing 4 games, whether he will remain the top player in disguise as the fake 7th rank star. According to Headmaster Ikinos, Hiroto has already gained his 2nd star by defeating Siren in a previous game. He explains that Hiroto's rise to the 2nd rank was due to his unique situation of acquiring Siren's Indigo Star. Normally, Hiroto would get a regular star if he defeated someone in a game. However, in this unique circumstance, whenever Hiroto wins a game against a unique star holder, he obtains that unique star instead of a regular one. As a result, he now has 2 unique stars, and if he wins all games against players with unique stars, he will be the first person to have all 7 stars of different colors. Himeji tries to inquire about Hiroto's true abilities, which put him in a dual-edged sword situation. Assuming he can easily defeat all his enemies, he will become the main target for the entire Academy Island area once the district tournament begins. According to Ikinos, Hiroto's position is solely based on his entrance exam scores, which means both Hiroto and Ikinos are using each other to survive in the Academy Island while searching for someone. Himeji is determined to protect Hiroto from any danger that may arise. During the night when Hiroto is searching for Himeji, he overhears her practicing self-introductions for her transfer to the same school as her Tone. The next day, after finishing her introduction, she returns to her seat and listens to the homeroom teacher's explanation about the selection rounds of the inter-district tournament, which will begin the next day. The selection will take place in trial mode, where players won't lose their stars when defeated but won't be able to continue the selection. The trial mode also includes the conflict situation system, where players engaged in a game cannot be disturbed and must wait for their ongoing game to finish. If, within 24 hours of the activation of the conflict situation, they don't receive any challenges, they will be disqualified. So Hiroto needs to be cautious in choosing opponents, and the best way to safely advance through the selection is to avoid early battles for as long as possible. However, he must be aware of the movements of players who have won many games before him and defeat them when the opportunity arises. While discussing the inter-district tournament selection, Kagaya informs Hiroto that someone suspicious is approaching him. It's a beautiful girl with her hair in 2 braids, a slightly petite yet well-built figure that captivates Hiroto. The girl's name is Akizuki Noa, a senior from the 3rd grade who knows about Hiroto's prowess. Noa attempts to seduce him, hoping to be easily defeated by him. However, upon seeing Hiroto with Himeji, she assumes they are dating, which is not the case. Nevertheless, Noa sees this as an opportunity to make Hiroto lose early and become the school's representative. She starts teasing him. Hiroto is trying to find important information, but Himeji, unable to stand Noah's coquettish behavior, attempts to bring Hiroto back to his senses, as he seemed captivated by Noah's charms. Hiroto tries to inquire about Noah's intentions, as he wants to use data from Libra to survey the list of the strongest players at Ime Academy to find out who he might challenge. However, as Noah is also one of the strongest players at Ime, Hiroto might include her in his list. Satisfied with the information she obtained, Noah decides to return to the school building. Himeji warns Hiroto to remain vigilant of Akizuki Noah, who is nicknamed the Little Devil and is a 6-star player. Himeji has some undisclosed information about Noah, believing her to be dangerous if acting recklessly. Himeji even inquires if Hiroto likes girls like Noah, but Hiroto doesn't answer, leaving Himeji a little annoyed. In the headmaster's office, Hiroto is having a conversation with him. Himeji is visibly accompanying Hiroto, which puts the headmaster in a bind since, at that time, Himeji was still a student at Oka Academy in District 3. After that game with Siren, Ikainos used every means to transfer Himeji to Ime Academy and place her in the same class as Hiroto. It was difficult to move students on Academy Island, even if it was just between different districts, causing many problems. The headmaster received reports that Hiroto became a target for the entire Academy Island, and one of the green stars that used to be at Ime Academy seemed to have been stolen by someone who hacked into the star storage and became a player with that unique green star. Consequently, the headmaster gives Hiroto a tough task. He must pass the inter-district tournament selection, find out who stole the unique green star, and reclaim it. After the end of lesson bell rings, all the students in the class immediately gaze at Hiroto, as he is preparing to engage in a game. They believe that eliminating the strongest player first will make the selection easier. They hide because they are attacked from the beginning, surrounded from all directions. Hiroto is forced to continuously evade to secure his position and advance in the selection. However, when the dismissal bell rings, Akizuki Noah sends a challenge message, which she soon cancels, claiming it was just for fun. But Hiroto sees it as a lure, and he reads her strategy, making him a little scared. Still, as he has also been challenged by class representative Tatara, he accepts the challenge and manages to win the game. Hiroto recognizes Tatara as a strong player deserving of the class representative title. Exhausted, Hiroto leans on a sofa. Himeji comes to confirm if he was asked to take a bath first since he usually bathes after his tone. However, Hiroto knows that Himeji must be sweating a lot in her maid outfit, but she mistakenly thinks Hiroto is an experienced pervert and gets a little scared about entering the bathroom suddenly. The tiring first day leaves Hiroto pondering Noah's suspicious movements. Then, Kagaya came to Hiroto's house with a cake, surprising Hiroto as he had only met Kagaya in person for the first time. Himeji, knowing that Kagaya was looking for an opportunity to buy cake from a famous place in District 17 because she was a bit lazy, accused Kagaya of not inviting her and denied that she was helping Hiroto. Instead of getting angry, Himeji pouted because Kagaya came alone without inviting her. Kagaya teased Himeji by calling Hiroto cute and wanting to apologize by feeding her the cake he bought. Confused by the situation, Hiroto asked Kagaya about his purpose for coming to their house. Kagaya explained that he came to create a program where Himeji and Hiroto would exchange data, assuming that when he challenged Himeji, Hiroto would be her opponent, and vice versa. According to him, the program is useful to buy time to find potential opponents and eliminate them quickly. However, it can only be used as a shortcut once. The second day started smoothly, but when the program Kagaya used was detected by others participating in the elimination round, they all ran towards Hiroto, who was camouflaging using Himeji's data. Someone had uncovered their plan, and Himeji rushed to Hiroto, who was now surrounded from all sides. While running, Hiroto accidentally bumped into Noah, who purposely appeared to stop him, and she tightly hugged Hiroto, preventing him from escaping. However, Hiroto quickly thought of a way to break free from Noah's grip. He instructed Himeji to undergo the trial mode, so the person targeting him couldn't approach and challenge him. Noah, who executed her first plan successfully, put an end to her action and waited for the moment to execute her second plan, observing Hiroto's movements. When Hiroto asked Noah about her true intentions, she jokingly replied that he was too cute, so she couldn't tell him her real plans. Frustrated with Noah's behavior, Hiroto was saved from the onslaught of players by Himeji. As they were about to cook dinner, Himeji mentioned katsu, which has two meanings, winning and a type of food. She wished that when Hiroto ate katsu, he would win the player selection to represent the Academy's districts in the tournament. Himeji was shocked to find that the stock of katsu sauce in the refrigerator was empty, and she had to buy it as she and Hiroto were a team for katsu sauce. However, Hiroto suggested using Worcestershire sauce instead, but Himeji refused, as she considered herself a genuine katsu sauce team member and wouldn't allow using any other sauce. Eventually, Himeji went to the supermarket to buy the sauce, despite Hiroto offering to go instead. After waiting for about an hour, Hiroto became anxious when Himeji hadn't returned home. Suddenly, a call came from Himeji, but when Hiroto answered, it was Noah on the other end. Annoyed with Noah's games, Hiroto decided to confront her directly. As the trial involving Himeji and Hiroto would be active until noon, Himeji decided to fight her actual tone, who was under Noah's control. The source of her power remains unknown. Can Hiroto fight against both Himeji and Noah at the same time? Stay tuned for the continuation. This is the end of episode 4. Episode 5 begins with Himeji being kidnapped by Noah, who traps them in a game scheduled for the next day. Noah's threat causes panic for Hiroto, as she holds significant influence at Ime and can easily deceive and manipulate people due to her star 6 status. Rina, who visits Hiroto's house, already knows the motive behind Noah's kidnapping of Himeji, leading them into this dangerous game. Unable to advise cheating, Rina can only resign herself to the situation, and Hiroto must rely on Kagaya for help. Just when Hiroto seeks Kagaya's assistance, Kagaya arrives at Hiroto's house stumbling as if drunk. He is confused, thinking he has returned home, but instead, he enters Hiroto's house. Once he realizes the situation, Kagaya informs Hiroto that Himeji has been kidnapped by Noah, which makes him panic. Kagaya is startled to see Rina wearing a hoodie to conceal her identity. Quickly, Kagaya dissects the game that Himeji will use to compete against Hiroto. Being familiar with the game, he attempts to anticipate all the possible moves Himeji might make. As the game involves cards, Kagaya warns about the cards and their values that will likely be used. However, a significant challenge arises due to Himeji's ability to use probability fluctuation LV4, which forces opponents to receive bad card sets while Himeji gains an advantage with good sets. Additionally, her forced control ability prevents the opponent from making any moves for 3 turns, disrupting their momentum from the start and reducing their chances of winning. Hiroto's concern over Himeji's abilities motivates Kagaya to hack the system to ensure Hiroto's victory without exception. But when he can't access Himeji's database, Kagaya panics as he cannot hack into it. However, Rina offers her expertise as a strategist and suggests Kagaya lay out all the card abilities, providing the foundation for Rina to formulate a strategy. Although she may not be as skilled as Himeji, Rina is willing to assist. Since the first 3 turns will be chaotic for Hiroto, Rina looks for an opening where Himeji will initiate an attack early on. By predicting Himeji's moves based on her early game behavior, Hiroto can prepare for the card she might use when her turn comes. Hiroto, who was initially confused by the forced control restriction, which limited his movement until the 4th turn, learned from Rina that Himeji would use the simple extraction card at the beginning of her turn to create a deadly combo against her opponents. This revelation caused Hiroto to panic again, realizing that Himeji would have a 7-card advantage in the first 3 turns, and if he received lower value cards than Himeji, he would almost certainly lose in the 4th turn. However, Rina knew how to turn the tables by utilizing the star 6 ability called enhancement, with Kagaya's system hacking assistance, as it could be the key to changing the situation. But to fulfill Hiroto's request for Kagaya's help, they needed assistance from their friends monitoring the communication channels, as Kagaya wasn't entirely confident in his abilities if he acted alone. Nonetheless, Kagaya was determined to do his best to support Hiroto and ensure his victory. Hiroto was well aware that Kagaya could be careless but was also a genius, and he trusted Kagaya to do whatever it took to save Himeji. Rina reminded Hiroto not to forget to activate his abilities to prevent any unwanted outcomes. Hiroto also understood that Himeji asked him not to win the game, but he couldn't afford to lose either, as that would make the situation awkward during the game. As Hiroto lay on his bed, pondering his strategy against Himeji, Rina entered his room, looking like she had just finished taking a shower. Since Rina had sneaked into Hiroto's house late at night, she had no choice but to spend the night there and use Hiroto's spare bed, which he had prepared for her. With all the worries, neither Hiroto nor Rina could sleep peacefully. Rina then gave Hiroto a rare ability card to be installed on his smartphone, which she called a charm to help him win the game. The ability was called Pinch Hitter, enabling him to use both officially licensed and unofficial rare abilities. Rina advised him to use it when he found himself in a tight spot. Meanwhile, Noah was panicking, still upset about Hiroto's irritating speech during their encounter. After school, Himeji and Hiroto walked together, with Kagaya communicating through an earphone, informing Hiroto that the program was ready to be activated whenever he wished. Noah appeared, seemingly waiting for them to start the game. Hiroto already knew that Noah would be watching the game, so he prepared a countermeasure to prevent her from acting as she pleased. The game began, following the predicted plan. Himeji started with the abilities she had activated, and everything went as planned. They waited for the right moment to launch a counterattack and execute it flawlessly. Unbeknownst to Hiroto, Himeji rotated her strategy to avoid being predicted by her opponent. This rotation trapped Hiroto from the beginning, blocking his movements. Realizing Himeji's strategy rotation, Hiroto abandoned his plan to hack abilities because he understood that Himeji aimed to win with odd cards. Hiroto intentionally provoked Noah's anger, successfully manipulating her emotions. As Noah panicked, Hiroto waited for Himeji's decision on whether to draw a card. If she drew, the game would end in a tie, but if she didn't, Hiroto would suffer a crushing defeat. Himeji, aware that her master had given her a signal to aim for a draw, tried to provoke Noah's emotions, making her impatient due to the seemingly one-sided game turned around intentionally by Himeji. The game ended in a tie, disappointing and infuriating Noah. She attempted to leave the room, but Hiroto, perceiving Noah's displeasure, tried to hold her back and explain his actions. Cleverly, Noah attempted to escape, providing an excuse to get out quickly and hide her true intentions before the game began. Himeji, realizing that her smartphone had been hacked, finally revealed it. Kagaya, who had guided Hiroto, understood that this was a highly illegal act, using illegal abilities that could leak data and record-sensitive information. These dangerous abilities were used to threaten Himeji into losing the game and complying with Noah's wishes. Then, when Hiroto wins the game, the program automatically transfers to Hiroto's device. Thus, with the game ending in a tie and no winner, the program should have been automatically cancelled as the command was to find a winner and a loser. Noah was left powerless as her moves had been predicted by Himeji since the beginning of her abduction. Himeji, being more familiar with hacking, understood the flow Noah would use while waiting for the game to end, with either a winner or loser. The vulnerability of the illegal program was easier to detect compared to Kagaya's hacking with his own system. It was easy to uncover the identity of the perpetrator using the illegal ability. Himeji had also kept a log of the overnight access where Noah performed her actions without erasing any traces. According to Himeji, Noah's ability, display error, would hide her actions, but with the intervention of Headmaster Akinos, it was clear to see the source of Noah's hacking. Noah became furious as her actions were exposed by Hiroto and Himeji. She found it strange that Hiroto, a new student, easily obtained a star 7 rating. Little did she know that Hiroto's unique red star ability assisted him in the deception, and they believed him. In reality, Hiroto only received colored stars when winning games against students with different unique star abilities. Noah, hating cheaters because she wanted to be special, felt jealous and angry toward Hiroto, trying hard to challenge him. Noah accidentally mentioned the demon, shocking Hiroto, as it seemed he knew the mastermind behind all this. He questioned Noah about it, suspecting someone else was involved. However, Noah, being cunning, had a backup plan in case the game ended and the eavesdropping device was deactivated. She had the destruction desire ability ready, which would destroy all of Himeji's device data, preventing her from continuing her education on the Academy Island. Himeji knew that if Noah used this illegal ability, she would be hated by everyone on the Academy Island. Noah then threatened Hiroto to play a game with her, holding Himeji hostage, and risking their stars. Fed up with everything being exposed, Noah had no choice but to resort to threats. Noah demanded that Hiroto surrender all his stars and kneel before her. Undeterred, Hiroto accepted her challenge and attempted to save Himeji from Noah's clutches. The game they played was Treasure Hunt Table. What would this game entail? Could Hiroto win this game? We'll have to wait and see. This is the end of episode 5. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss part 6 of this series recap.